Welcome to the Max Vegas Current Events Show, where relevance meets intelligence. So, obviously I couldn't be a current events show if I wasn't talking about the Chavin Trial. In case you've been living under a rock, which it would have to be a really big rock to not hear about this, but Chavin is the ex-police officer who is charged with the murder of George Floyd. So, in this show, like I said, I want relevance to meet the intelligence. We're gonna break this down. Why is this trial important? So, like I said, unless you're living under a rock, which I know COVID was happening, a lot of us were staying at home, but it kind of goes hand in hand. Unless you were living under a rock, you remember what happened last year, around May, all the protests, all the riots that this incident led to with George Floyd. Now, I think this is the question that all of America is asking. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, if you're even a communist or a Fed, whatever. But we're all asking, is this gonna happen again due to this trial? Are we gonna have riots? And I'm just gonna say riots because let's be real, we all know what happened last summer were riots. And to call them protests, I think is just asinine and just manipulating the words of protest and makes real protesters look bad. But so let's break this down logically. Let's actually break this court case down logically, which I think needs to happen more because a lot of people, because it's an emotional case and I think people are thinking too much on emotion on it. So let's break it down logically. Chavin is charged with second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. Now, let's look at the definitions of these charges. Let's look at the definition of second-degree manslaughter. Let's look at the definition of third-degree manslaughter, which switches by state a lot. So when I break down this third-degree murder charge, I'm gonna be breaking it down for Minnesota because third degree is a different, it's very interpreted differently throughout the country. And then we're gonna break down second-degree manslaughter. So let's get into it. So the definition of second-degree murder is second-degree murder can be charged when a person intentionally murders somebody, but not premeditated. In other words, it's an impulse murder. It's a crime of passion, as you would say. Okay, before I give my opinions, I'll just keep on breaking down the definitions. Let's get into the definition of third-degree murder by Minnesota state law, because like I said, it's interpreted differently. Third-degree murder is something that's interpreted different throughout the country. So Minnesota law states third-degree murder is whoever without intent causes death of another person by perpetuating a dangerous act to others without regard for human life. Again, and I'll get into this, but let's go on to the definition of second-degree manslaughter. When someone creates an unreasonable risk and consciously takes chances causing death or great bodily harm to another person and they end up dying. So, you know the definition now, and you can go right on Google. All you gotta do is go right on Google, and I don't recommend just going to the first thing you see on Google. Go to a couple different places and match up a few. So you can do that. These are the definitions. So, now, second-degree murder. We gotta be logical here. Second-degree murder, it should just be off the table. It should just be out of the question. And like I said, this is a show where relevance meets intelligence. So again, we're gonna break this down of why this should just be out of the question. We have to remember the burden of proof it's not on the defense. It is on the state. It is on the prosecution to, without reasonable doubt, say that he intentionally, when he was cause of the scene and he got into this incident, as soon as he got into this incident, for it to be second-degree murder, he would have to intentionally say, yes, I'm in this incident and now I want him dead. There is no possible way that could be proved. It is asinine to even think it could be proved. It's a mockery almost of our system, if you ask me. Now, am I a lawyer? Absolutely not. I am not a lawyer. And if any lawyers are out there, I would love to hear your comments. Whether you agree, disagree. I almost like better when people disagree because maybe I might learn something. So with that being said, how is the state going to prove that Derek Chauvin purposely murdered George Floyd? Simply put, they cannot. There is no way they can prove that, especially with all the factors that come into this trial. Okay, so let's look at third-degree murder. Does this make sense? Now again, it's when a person without intent kills somebody and perpetuates a dangerous act. Okay, now I'm not a lawyer, again, and I really want to state that. I'm not a lawyer. I would love to hear for some lawyers, but I'm not a lawyer. But with that definition, let's look at this dangerous act that he perpetuated. We have to remember in Minnesota, like, that there was actual, there's proof that they would train people to use this knee on the neck. There is laws, I'm not gonna say actually protecting it, but there is laws in place. So is that the dangerous act was the knee on the neck, correct? If there was things put in place, does that neglect it being a dangerous act? I don't know, but I can tell you this is the case that will interpret that dangerous act. So, now I don't know, maybe that's the worst they could get him on, I don't know. So let's go to second degree manslaughter, I'm sorry. It's, again, I'll say the definition: when somebody creates an unreasonable risk, consciously taking chances of causing death or great bodily harm on another, and then they end up dying. Now, does this make sense? Again, I am no lawyer, but to me, I don't even want to state my opinion whether it makes sense or not, but to be honest, I feel as if that's what they're going to get him on. That's what they're going to end up getting on him. They're getting on him because of the fact, and it's dangerous, I think, is because they have to get him on something. And I think that's a very slippery slope, America, that now, am I going to say, is he guilty of second-degree manslaughter, second-degree murder, or third-degree murder? Again, I want to state I'm not a judge, I'm not a jury, I'm not a lawyer. But the fact that we have to even think, America, that we have to get him on something, or else, let's be real. What happens if Derek Chauvin is found innocent of all charges? If Derek Chauvin is found innocent of second-degree murder, who knows? But if he isn't found at least of third-degree murder, I believe cities will burn. They will burn to the ground. If he is not even found of second-degree manslaughter, cities will not just burn to the ground. I think it will become something that we have never seen in this country before. If this guy walks away scotch-free. So what is that doing to our judicial system, America? There is no way that you can tell me these jurors don't have same thoughts I do. There's no way you can tell me that judges don't have same thoughts I do. There's no way. And is this opinionated? Maybe a little bit, but we really have to look. If this man gets off scotch-free, is that good for the country? Probably not. But if he is supposed to and he doesn't, what does that do to our judicial system? It literally takes it out. It's done. And then we start moving forward. That sets the precedent for other trials and juries to base on what happens of repercussions in society rather than keeping maybe our strongest of the three branches intact, the judicial system. And I think we need to look at that, America, and I think we all need to question that. Now, let's talk about some of the people who testified. Very emotional testimonies. I believe Genevieve Hansen, now she was an off-duty firefighter who was a trained EMT who arrived on the scene on her day off. Very emotional testimony, but let's look at this testimony. She arrives walking down. She went for a walk this day because she's off, and she sees this happening. She sees what she thought was civil unrest happening to somebody. And she goes, and I can't remember the officer's name, but she goes up and the one who is not Derek Chauvin, but the one, I think he was the Asian officer who was trying to control the scene out. And she asked to help him. Now we gotta remember this woman was on her day off. So I think we're all looking like we should have taken her word for it. We should have done this, and maybe they should have. But again, that's not up to us to decide. But by looking at her testimony, she has in her mind that this is murder, and she pushed that across. And I think a lot of the other testimonies did as well. So I hope this whole breaking it down logically, I don't think a lot of people have looked enough into it. A lot of people like you and I who are not lawyers, who are not jurors, or not involved in this case, and we're just people out here that are wondering what to think. I think before we make our thoughts, we need to break it down and look at the definitions of what this man's really being charged with, what makes sense, before we think on emotion and let it ruin our judicial system. And I would love to hear from you. Please leave comments on how you feel about it, because it is incredibly, this case means a lot. So, coming up, we're gonna talk about Atlanta and the MLB pulling it.
Patriotism is a love and adoration to one's country. It does not reside in any particular geographical location or political party within one's country, but rather the devotion and respect one has for the values represented in the country they inhabit. The American Declaration of Independence assures that all citizens are endowed by the Creator with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It defines that the power of our country belongs to the people who live within it, and at any point the government fails to meet the needs of the citizen and becomes destructive by these means, it is the right and the duty of the people to provide new guards for their future security. As America's political parties have become two faces of the same coin, the American people have been abandoned. As a consequence of this political betrayal, it has become our duty to constitute a new party that acts upon the consent of the governed, a party that stands for the values of the majority and represents the patriotism in which our country was founded. On this day, we the people stand together with one common goal, an aspiration to construct a party that stands for freedom, liberty, and every inherent right bestowed to us from birth. A party that embodies the people, our republic, the Constitution, and the American patriot.
Welcome back to the Max Vegas Current Events Show, where relevance meets intelligence. So, we're gonna talk about a little bit about sports, kind of, and how these major sports are taking political stances. The MLB, I don't know what, I think it was actually on opening day or the day after opening day. The All-Star game was scheduled to be in Atlanta, and they pulled it from Atlanta. So let's see what this really means. Of course, it's another sport taking a political stance, which is just going to drive people from watching it, and the only reason they're going to watch is because they're betting. So who is this really hurting though? In the city of Atlanta. Again, relevance meets intelligence. I'm all about facts, and I like numbers because the numbers don't lie. As Jay-Z said, check the scoreboard. Atlanta has a population of 524,000 people. It's the 37th largest city in the United States, according to last year's statistics. 50.95% of the population is African American, 40.90% white, and about 4% Asian and other. So who is this affecting? Now, the reason Atlanta, why the MLB took this away from Atlanta is because of, I think it's because of that new voting law about needing identification to vote. And they're saying that's racist towards African Americans and minorities, that they can't all get an identification. For one, I want to say this. That is highly insulting to tell a group of people that they can't even acquire identification. Like, come on, dude. If you told me I can't acquire identification, I was homeless on the street, I'll look at you and be like, yeah, I can. All I gotta do is like ask or go and ask for, yes, you can acquire identification. That is horribly insulting. But now, with all those numbers, who are the people usually in the service industry? I'm guessing if you go to Atlanta, I've been to Atlanta. There's a lot of African American waiters. There's a lot of African American bartenders. The service industry is, the tourism of Atlanta is greatly gonna lose out on that. And they're saying it's because they're pulling the All-Star game to take a stance against racism. But who are they hurting? They're hurting an African American community of Atlanta. Now, here's a little story. In 2006, I'm from the city of Detroit. In 2006, okay, Detroit had the Super Bowl. Detroit, even more so than Atlanta, is predominantly African American. 2006 was a great year for the city of Detroit. I thinking this because what would happen in that year if they would have pulled the Super Bowl from Detroit? God knows. It would have been detrimental, not only to the morale of the community of Detroit, but financially as well. I believe after that year, that's the year that Detroit somewhat started rebuilding. I believe right after that, that's when the guy from Quicken Loans started buying a lot of things because it brought people to our city. It put Detroit back on the map. Now, Atlanta has a better reputation than Detroit, but what city right now doesn't need, after the year we just had of COVID 2020, the worst year ever? Do you know how detrimental that is to Atlanta? To just take it out after COVID, just to pull the NBA All-Star game, which would bring so many tourists to the city. Now what? You're hurting the people of Atlanta. You're not helping them by taking this immoral stance, which is based on what? It is based on insulting a group of people by telling them that they are not even competent enough to get identification in the United States of America. So in concluding Atlanta, I just want to apologize to the city of Atlanta that you lost something great that could have been for your city due to another sport taking a stance politically, which they have no business doing anyways. But again, we're a current event show, so I'm gonna move on, and I'm sure you guys have all heard about this. Lil Nas X releases a limited edition of 666 Satan shoes that all contain a drop of human blood. Okay, now this is just one that just it just annoys me I'm just irked. So Nike sued him and blah blah blah. I do want to say, like, are we really gonna say that Nike didn't somewhat know about this maybe, and we're just waiting to see, oh, maybe it will work, maybe it won't. Now, maybe that's the conspiracy theory in me. But what I really wanted to, and yes, they sue him, and we all knew Nike was gonna win. The second we knew that they said that they were gonna sue him. But what I really want to talk about with this is look at the demonic culture that's coming out of Hollywood. Am I the most religious man? No, but I am a God-fearing man. I really am. In this society right now, we have these pop stars coming out. Look at what they are perpetuating. They're perpetuating, literally, they're releasing shoes, 666 copies of shoes with human blood, promoting nothing but evil. And you don't have to be the smartest guy in the world to understand this. If you lose God, where does your moral compass go? Following Hollywood and people that are gonna put out shoes that literally promote satanic beliefs, and then they even try to manipulate you to believe that these satanic beliefs are out of good. If you don't, it's just gotten to the point, like, we have to see it, and if you do see it and you're not speaking out about it, then maybe you bought Lil Nas X shoes. I don't know. Maybe you would be his client. Maybe you're who he's looking for. I do want to know, because one thing I didn't look up, I wish I did. How much were people paying for these shoes?
They sold for $1,080 a piece.
$1,080. I actually thought they would have went for much more than that, to be honest. Do you know if they were actually all sold out?
Yeah, every single shoe was immediately sold within, I think, 2 hours, except for the last pair, the 666th pair he was supposed to give away, and Nike blocked them, so he cannot give away that last pair.
So again, I want to hear some comments actually about what you think about this, because me, I'm just outraged. I'm outraged that honestly it's gotten this far to where we actually have a line of people waiting to buy a shoe for thousands of dollars that are called Satan shoes. Okay? And I was told about another pair that there was like a Jesus shoe or something, and it had like a cross on the bottom. Now let's be real. Now people are like, oh well, separation of religion and all this, but let's be real. Come on. That's an uplifting thing. Like you're walking with God is kind of what I think about that. But to honestly not want to be walking with Satan? Do you you want to walk around with Satan all day with a drop of human blood under you? Like, and conservatives and people who are God fearing are the ones that are being under attack, and not these people. I mean, it's just gotten to the point where I don't know what to think anymore, and so I come on here and I spew it to you guys. But I do want to talk about what we're gonna be my show next week. It's gonna be really important. Maybe one of the most important shows I'll do. And why is because we're here and we're in Las Vegas right now, but next week we're gonna be going to Carson City, the capital of Nevada. Because here at Red Pill Rage, at the No Wall team, we aren't just keyboard warriors, okay? We do talk and we do give our opinions, but we do much more than that. We don't just talk, we walk. And next week we're gonna be up there. We're gonna be going to support the Republican Party and hopefully change things for the better for the great state of Nevada, which I love so much and am sick of it being Californian. I don't want to be a Californian, I want to be a Nevadan, okay? So that's why we're going up there. Make sure you honestly tune in next week, because it will be very informative, and it will prove to you that we do a lot more than just be on camera here. We actually go out there and we take action and we actually fight for what we believe in. So, always remember, check me out on Twitter, @MaxNoall. Check me out on my website, thenowallteam.com, where I also have a blog too, where you can also find this video. That's nowallteam.com, or you can just simply type in the No Wall Team on Google. Thank you very much again, Jenny, and we'll see you next week again. It's the Max Vegas Current Event Show, where relevance meets intelligence.